Razia, and quite a few of you will already know me. I run Phoenix Rising, which is a support service for survivors of abuse and trauma. I came out of an abusive relationship after having 4 decades of every kind of abuse that you can probably think of. But I set my group up within 2 weeks of deleting and blocking every abusive person in my life. On year 1, we hit 1,100 worldwide members, and we now have over 7.3 thousand worldwide members. Men, women, young, old, bi, trans, whoever, everyone can access our services. So we're currently online on Facebook, and anybody can join our group. I'm trying to set up an advocacy and consultancy service so I can do peer support work, navigation work. I'm a multilingual interpreter as well, so I speak Hindi, Urdu and Bengali, and I'm hoping to try and help the BAM community in Southampton access help, support. Quite often people won't know where they can go for help and support, they don't know who they can trust. People are very sceptical about, say, the police service, the social services, the environmental health officers and welfare officers, so they don't necessarily want to open up and tell them if they're struggling, because you're going to take your children away, you know, they don't want to tell you that. So when I go in to do an interpreting session, quite often the family will open up to me. I'm a regular face, I grew up in Southampton, people know me in the community, and because I bring in that authentic touch and I bring in the lived-in experience as well, people quite often, you know, they feel comfortable talking to me. I'm hoping to sort of try and build up the idea of proactive as opposed to reactive. What I find at the moment is that the police service or the social services, once you've had abuse and trauma, you're in a domestic violence situation, bam, 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 you have all of these support workers around you for about 5 weeks. It's really intense. You don't even know who you should be talking to at one point because it's literally, you're inundated, and then they've gone. 5 weeks later, domestic violence has apparently disappeared, and abuse and trauma is perfectly fine, and you're perfectly fine to just get on with your life. That is when people are struggling. So it's before they get the help and support, and then after they get the help and support, they feel abandoned, they feel completely on their own, and they don't know what to do. So my service will help you when you're first getting the inkling that you might be in an abusive situation, but you don't know, is this abusive, is this not? Do I need to speak to somebody, do I need to reach out? Then when you've had the perpetrator removed, your children are struggling, you're struggling, emotional well-being, mental health is really poor, finances, you have no family, no friends, no access, nothing. You may have been locked away for 10 years practically, not having worked. Where do you go? How do you do a CV? How do you go and get the jobs that you need? All of these things are so vital, and yet we expect domestic violence victims and trauma survivors just to get on with it. Why can't you get on with it? It's so easy, just go to the benefits agency, just go to the job centre. It's not that simple. So I try and provide a holistic service for everybody I help and support. And men as well, I want to get into the perpetrators as well. Hampton Trust in Southampton work with perpetrators. Because my idea is that everybody is a victim of abuse and trauma. It's even the perpetrators. They have had something happen to them that has caused them to do this and to behave like this. If we can educate people, if we can teach people, there are other ways to manage your anger, your aggression, your pain, your trauma. Let's all try and work together to build a healthier, happier society for everybody to live in.
Yay!
Any questions? No.
Are you training, because you're such a vital part of this, you're approachable, and part of your next idea for your business, are you training other people to be like you?
So it's actually, thank you for asking that question actually. When I first set up, I made friends with some of the survivors sort of internationally and nationally as well. And what I found is that a lot of women aspire to be like me. So how do I get into mentoring? How do I help and support other people? And I say, you just be yourself. You just help them with the way that you would have liked to have been helped. One of my friends who started with my support service, she actually runs her own support service in South Africa now. I have lots of local women in London, up north, who are actually helping and supporting their friends and their family and their colleagues. So it's almost like love has a ripple effect.
Yes.
You give out love, it spreads. It's like a smile. You smile at somebody, they smile at somebody else. It's the hormones that get released, it's the happy feeling that you get, and that it has a ripple effect. You know?
And are you, do you have a framework for how you work that you're rolling out? I'm just asking because I was a victim of domestic violence, and I, as a white woman, maybe had a completely different experience. But I phoned the domestic violence helpline to get assessed, and I just wonder what that criteria is. and whether how you roll it out, because it's wonderful because you're creating a community that I just went to this official body that was somebody on the end of a phone, whereas if you can create this global community that grows and grows, it's incredible.
I think we will all know somebody who's a victim of abuse and trauma, because bear in mind it's not just domestic violence, sexual abuse and all the big things that we hear about, bullying, workplace inequality, discrimination, racism. There's so many different aspects to it. We will all know people who are struggling and suffering, and it's actually teaching and empowering people to recognise abuse. When your neighbour, when your work colleague, when somebody at school, anywhere you go to, when you witness abuse and trauma, how do you recognise that? There's a course I did on bystander effect as well, and it shows how in a group, if somebody is being abused, until one person stands up, no one else will. No one wants to be that first person. So it's teaching people it's okay. If you see something wrong, you need to stand up and talk about it.
Well, also, I didn't know where to go. I just went to the local library, actually, and walked in like completely traumatised and said, can someone help me? And then they put me in touch with Citizens Advice Bureau, and then they put me, and it was this sort of ripple effect. But I didn't know where to go.
Exactly. I think what I find is that professionals say, well, we have Yellow Doors in Southampton, we have the Women's Aid, we have Salvation Army, we have all these things. Who are you and what do you want to do? It's not good enough as far as I can see, because when I came out of my abusive relationship and I tried to access help and support, there was none. I had no family, no friends, no money, no job, no savings, and there was nobody to help me. I tried accessing help and support. You go to the police station to report a case of abuse and trauma. If it's coercive control, psychological, emotional and verbal abuse, where's the proof? They will not act, they will not arrest a perpetrator, they will not take him in a statement unless you can show that you have had domestic violence. A lot of it is coercive, a lot of it is emotional, psychological, verbal. How do you prove that? Police don't have the resources and the time and the manpower to investigate coercive control cases. There's very few cases that have gone to trial and been able to prosecute.
You know what, it's so interesting, because I've done a wellbeing event in London on International Women's Day, and one of the counsellors, she done a talk about emotional abuse, what it is, how to identify it, and I done it because it was something that she wanted to do and she thought it would be beneficial. But the amount of women that came out, and following that session we had a session called It's Okay to Cry, and so I do feel like a lot of women, we need that support, especially when it comes to like emotional abuse as well, because like you said, when you go to the police, they don't really recognise that stuff because there's no bruises or anything.
Exactly. I think what I'm finding is that I'm obviously connected on LinkedIn with so many different professionals, and I'm actually sort of like linking up with different organisations and things. The amount of professionals that I come face to face with, and I can see it in their eyes. When they are a victim of domestic violence or abuse or trauma or anything, I can just read it in their eyes. They may not come and tell me. I sort of signpost them to my group and say, take a look, see what I'm doing, give me some tips. But the amount, 9 times out of 10, professionals, that you're not immune. You could be the CEO of the biggest company in the world. You could be the commander of a police force. Nobody is immune to abuse and trauma. And it's just allowing people the platform to come in and speak and to share and to access that help and support. 9 times out of 10, you just want somebody to listen to you and believe you and treat you with respect and dignity and make you feel valid and worthwhile.
I think also what's really interesting is this sort of multicultural nature of this, and the idea of different approaches to marriage, different approaches to gender roles, and actually if you can educate different cultures what to look out for, and also to liberate certain, and particularly within your community, it wasn't, it's not good to leave your husband, it's not good to get a divorce.
It's disgraceful, isn't it? I mean, Black and Asian minority ethnic communities, divorce is a taboo. You get divorced. I was banished from my community in Southampton the first time I went to get married, divorced. Imagine the second time. Even just to get remarried was like, whoa, what are you doing getting remarried at 30 with a 14-year-old son? Like, you should be at home praying. Like, condemn me, why don't you?
But it makes me smile because it shows that you're your own person, that you are not allowing the traditions of your family to be you if you see that they don't fit within your lifestyle as well. And I think sometimes as human beings that's hard to do. But I'm very much like you. I'm somebody that if I see something in my family background that I don't agree with, I'm the odd one out. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's always the
But I'm
scapegoat.
okay with it.
Yeah, I think what it is I'm actually possibly autistic, so I'm waiting to be diagnosed. So I think that always gives me a different outlook to life. So every time when anything happens, I've never been able to put up with injustice. You know, if I see something wrong, even if my entire family, and I've got 6 siblings, so my entire family will be saying one thing, and I'll be like, no, that's not right. You don't do that. And that's actually got me. That's probably why I've had a 43-year history of abuse and trauma, because I literally will stand up to you and say, sorry, no, that's not correct. Even somebody in power, like if I see something wrong, I have to say that's wrong.
You know what? Like what you're saying, I just feel like, how do you look after your emotional well-being?
Yeah, I said that to you in a
Did you?
group.
I can hear it twice now.
I go and rock in a corner. I'll be sort of like minutes to go and rock. My support group is amazing, and I would encourage everybody to go and have a look. Even if you don't want to join, just go and have a look, because I am the support for my group, but they are also my support on a day. So 2 days ago, I had the most awful day ever, and everything was going wrong. I will go to my support group and say, I'm having a bad day, guys. Immediately, at least 10 people will come on and like, what's the matter? Give me a hug, this, that, and the other. I've got amazing friends. I'm surrounded by so many different lovely people. Tishy is one of them. Amazing people that I know if I'm struggling or having a bad day, if I message them, I can go for coffee, I can meet up. So it's remembering you are worthy of time out. And taking the day out, taking the time off.
And that's a really important message to all female entrepreneurs, is to surround yourself or gather a network of people that can support each other. And I think that's hopefully, you know, that's what this...
I think, International Women's Day this year has taught me that I am worthy, I am enough, and I deserve to have a seat at anybody's table. If I believe I'm worthy, I deserve a seat there. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, and each and every one of us need to remember we are enough. We've always been enough.
Do you know there's like a really interesting statistic that one of the fastest growing areas in the economy is from female founders? And why is that? Do you think? Because because for me personally, I couldn't survive within the system.
Yeah.
I had to.
Are we going there now?
Yeah, well,
it's getting deep.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be a mum. I couldn't care for a parent. I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it all. And I was expected to do it all. And there is the inequality.
It is,
you know. And actually, I know so many women that have said, I can't do this anymore, I'm not doing it anymore, and I know how to do it better.
That's it. That's exactly it. I think as a society, we condition women and girls right from the early stages. You're a mum, you're a sister, you're a whatever, all of these different hats that we have to wear. And then we're expected to go to work, and then we're expected to bring in the money, and then we're expected to do this and do that, and be a bus driver, whatever, everything we're expected to do. We're one person. And I think, no offence to any man that might be in this room, but men have a very different approach to business than women do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
100%.
What's that? Sorry. Yeah, they do. I think for men it is basically, how do we monetize this? How do we make the money? For women, we're bringing our emotional side to it as well.
It's not just men, it's society.
Yeah.
You know?
As a society,
it's a societal expectation that, you know, especially when you reach a certain age where, for me, like perimenopause hit, it was like, I can't function like my 20-year-old self. I can't do it all.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest hemorrhaging in the workforce is of that age group of women.